Good morning from Ricketts Glen State Park. We got in late last night, we set up camp, and today we have an awesome, awesome journey ahead of us. We camped out at Ricketts Glen Campground, and we were in the small loop. And the best thing I can tell you, and the worst thing that I can tell you about this spot, there's absolutely zero cell service. I mean, not even a hint of internet. And that's very unnerving at first. But after I called my wife, let her know what was going on, because it was just a guy trip here, then I was much more comfortable with it. And it was actually a really wonderful experience to be able to just unplug and focus on the camping trip and the hike we were about to do. So we're getting on the trail at the Lake Rose trailhead. And there's a little short hike until the Falls Trail. This is the Falls Trail at Ricketts Glen State Park, and it's basically infamous for waterfalls. You can see all the little blue dots are waterfalls. We're going to be starting in the top left and working our way down and to the left and going around that way. Many different people say many different things about how you should try to tackle this trail. I don't think it really matters. If you're starting at one point and ending at the same point, it just doesn't matter. We were going to get on the trail pretty early. It is still pretty early. It's about 8 o'clock. There was warnings that the trail could be very crowded, but there's only a couple cars in the parking lot. Coming from the parking lot, you'll have a trail split, and we're gonna stay to the right to stay on Old Beaver Dam Road. This will take us to the trail we're trying to get to. It's called the Falls Trail. It's 22 waterfalls. It's gonna be awesome. Hiking is something that I've just been doing a lot more of recently. I just really enjoy it. I kind of found hiking through photography. And, you know, a lot of great photography locations you have to hike to. And that's great. I started with small hikes, you know, a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. And if you haven't done any hiking, there's a big difference between 1, 2, 3 miles on the road and 1, 2, 3 miles in the mountains or on the hills. The elevation changes are very dramatic in the effort that it takes to walk these distances. But what I've found is that I'm just searching for longer hikes. And I just really enjoy that feeling of being in the woods and being isolated and being away from all the hustle and everything that comes with our everyday lives. I did some research on the internet and I found this hike because I really enjoy waterfalls. And in my area on the northeast side of the United States, this is like waterfall heaven. You know, there's 20 some waterfalls all on one hike, although the hike is the longest hike I've ever done, which is 7.5 miles. And we're taking our boys with us. Our boys are pretty young, but we're pretty sure they can handle it. And, you know, we know that if they can, we're all going to have a wonderful time.
with the location that we got on the trail and the direction that we went, you start out with a couple of smaller waterfalls, but business picks up quickly when you get to this 94-foot tall, amazing waterfall. It's absolutely gorgeous and perfect for photography. One of the great things about Ricketts Glen State Park is the fact that the waterfalls aren't just little cascading falls that they can get away with calling a waterfall. More than half of the waterfalls are over 35 feet tall, with some really highlighting waterfalls that are 60 and 90 feet tall. Just an amazing array of waterfalls, all on one single hike. Another highlight of this state park is the fact that it's so natural. There's not caution signs, beware signs, guardrails, don't go off the trail. Everybody just is kind of roaming around, and there is a general path where everyone's walking, but they don't require you to stay on the path. You can get out and explore, and it's at your own risk. So if you're stupid and you do dumb things, then something may happen to you. But for the rest of us that are just trying to enjoy the sights, it's just wonderful to be able to explore at your will without the risk of, making someone upset or breaking any rules. Far too often today, things are governed by the extreme idiots, the people that just do stupid things. And what it does is it confines the rest of us to a set of rules that really aren't designed for us. And it's just not right when it comes to a lot of things like these state parks. It's so nice to be able to explore a natural park in its element without all the distractions.
So this waterfall is Ganoga. It's 94 feet. It's the biggest one on the hike. And it doesn't disappoint. It's a beautiful waterfall. You can get up real close to it. You can touch the water. I love that about Ricketts State Park. The trail's there, but they're not all paranoid about you getting off the trail. And you can get up close and take pictures and do what you want. Just leave no trace. And I think that for the most part, that's what everyone does. Seneca was just a small waterfall. I'm not going to do a picture of that one. It's just a typical waterfall. It's nice, I think all waterfalls are pretty awesome, but not worth breaking out 10 minutes and, on an all-day trip. This is the longest hike I've ever done, just getting into hiking. It's going to be about 7.5 miles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you can take as much time as you want on the trail and take in as much detail. There's so much to look at. There's so many rock formations. There's little cascades like this that they don't even count as waterfalls. And then the boys, they got really excited when we looked on the other side of these cascades and we saw a massive nest of something. I'm guessing hornets or something, but they just absolutely love that. I didn't see any bugs or anything flying around the outside of it, but you can see how big that thing is. And I think that's truly one of the most fascinating things about hiking into areas that are unknown for you is, being able to take in everything that you come across. And it goes hand in hand with photography, right? Photography is about capturing those moments. Well, hiking's about giving you those moments. So they just really work well together. And this was a perfect trail for that. This trip was designed to be kind of like a trial trip. I wanted to see, how close I was to being able to camp on the trail, and hopefully with my son, because I know he'd love that. And so we're trying to pack as minimally as possible, and we're trying to see, the limits of what our sons were capable of doing, and trying to see how much gear we could get rid of and how much gear we needed.
So we were talking about maybe the age, the minimum age you'd want to, make sure your kid was before coming here. There's another waterfall, just a little one. I don't think they count that one, but right now I'm thinking that age is probably 6-ish, somewhere in there. But we're only just a little bit through the trail.
The park lists this trail as most difficult. It's their most difficult trail. And I'll agree, it is a bit difficult. Our boys are 11 and 12, but they handled it with no problem. The water levels were low because we're coming off a dry season, but you can see the ground is definitely wet. When the rocks in the ground are wet, it makes for slippery conditions. And I definitely saw a couple of adults actually take a fall, but they were kind of pushing their limits and probably shouldn't have been doing what they were doing.
From a photography standpoint, there's some wonderful shots to be had. I mean, you could spend all day just shooting the trail, you know, the little bridges, the scenery around the trail, the steps, and the waterfalls. What I will say is there's been several waterfalls that they're just not picture friendly. So you just can't get a good vantage point. You just, you know, you're not going to get a great picture. That's not to say that they're not beautiful, because, you know, with the eye, you can see everything, and it's really awesome. But you can't expect to shoot every single waterfall and come out with good pictures. It's just not going to happen.
So in the interest of trying not to keep the video too long, I'm going to break this into 2 episodes. And the next episode is going to feature the photography and some of the shots that were taken. So please make sure you tune into episode 2. I'll have a card up top so that you can click on it and go directly to it. I appreciate your interest in the video. I would appreciate it if you could share the video with your family and friends. Drop me a like down below. And if you have any questions, leave those in the comments. I'll see you on the next video.